Look, very excited about the conversation. And just to recap, I actually started getting these messages from some of my friends in Chile because we put it in LinkedIn in the morning, and then of course they were saying, "Oh, how do we join?" And I said, "I think you have heard me too many times."
So the great thing is it's obviously the event link on LinkedIn, and I think we had about 100 people who have registered. So grow and happen again. But I think a lot of employers are being really open of if you don't feel like you need to come into work and you're still not feeling 100% safe, then just continue the way that you were working. So that I was talking to a couple of people about that flexibility, that it's the conversations have been more open.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think we all have proven that we can work from home. So it's sort of like people are becoming a little bit more accepting that it's not that you're slacking because you're at home. It actually, in a lovely way, I think it has equalized a lot the female working environment. Like, for a lot of women, that was the constant challenge of flexibility. Not that they were working less, they just needed the flex. And I love the fact that now it's not stereotypical of women needing that flex. It's actually all of us may need flex. And I think COVID had a positive side.
Yeah, I think it's really exposed a lot of people who haven't had to do that balance, where even if it was a two-partner household, women had picked up more of that slack anyway. Stunning.
I actually got it in Vietnam years ago.
Wow.
Like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's lacquer. It doesn't show, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's red. It's gorgeous. That's why I read the red lip today too. I thought,
of course we do red lipstick too.
Of course we do. So good. And already had so many people super excited to see that you were joining us. I had a call this morning with a contact I've been dealing with a little bit, and she's completing her master's in law. And so she is at the moment working in a people and culture role for a telecommunications business. And so I mentioned, I was like, "What, have you seen my LinkedIn event?" She's like, "No." And so I sent it off to her. She's like, "I will be there."
That's good.
This is great. Lovely. Getting some people in at the end.
That is good. So one of my friends said to me, it's funny because she's not working at the moment, where she has been working for the last 10 years, but she said to me, "Oh, I'm finally going to hear you speaking, because all the you always do these speaking events and they're too expensive." Because I normally speak, and I realize I mostly do these things for conferences or for businesses.
Yes.
And conferences can become quite pricey.
Yes, absolutely.
And then for businesses, but if you don't work for that organization, you actually struggle to find sort of this type of training or motivation. So what you're doing is brilliant.
Absolutely. And we try and, we're very mindful of the time that senior women like you are busy, but taking it as a snapshot and then being able to put it somewhere where it's easily accessible, people can pass it on to their friends, we can share it with other young women. I've known women who are like, great, we sit around in a room, and they'd been sharing it in work, so they'd have lunch together in a meeting room.
Wonderful.
And so that's great. So I'm going to admit people now. Well, thank you all for being here today. We are going to kick off immediately as people continue to join us. Today, we're honoured to have Silvana Schenone. She's here to join our Millennial INTRApreneurs thriving in their 9-to-5 hub and our wider network for this Her Career Leader-led Conversation Over Coffee event. Silvana is a corporate and commercial partner leading the MinterEllisonRuddWatts Auckland corporate legal team, and is renowned for her ability to get the most complex and innovative deals done in a pragmatic way, delivering excellent results for her clients. She's been involved in some of New Zealand's most iconic transactions, including a number of market firsts, setting precedent in the New Zealand legal market. It's little wonder then that she has been dubbed the deal maker. Additional to those already fantastic accomplishments, she's a director of Sky City Entertainment Group, board member of the New Zealand Takeovers Panel, authored Duties and Responsibilities of Directors and Company Secretaries in New Zealand, holds a master's in law from Harvard University, and is a founding member of On Being Bold, which is another amazing women supporting women organisation. I encourage you to take a look at their website, www.onbeingbold.co.nz, and their upcoming conference. As a member, global woman and frequent speaker at conferences and seminars in connections with mergers and acquisitions, corporate topics, diversity and leadership, this is a session I know will deliver so much for our Her Career community and well beyond. As usual, last housekeeping mention, please remember to use the chat function for any questions. Silvana, thanks again for being here, and the floor is yours.
Brilliant, Rosie. And hi, everyone. There's a lot of familiar faces, so that's exciting. And look, the topic that we're going to cover today, or the topics, are actually really important and really relevant at the moment in lockdown. So I guess most of you will be suffering this in Auckland. Some of you may have come out, but we're still all going through very challenging times. So talking about issues like confidence, in purpose, in how do we deal with stress become really important. And today I'm going to cover imposter syndrome as a self-doubt issue. It's not a mental disease. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It's actually something we all go through. It's an internal experience, but a lot of us suffer it. We're also going to talk a little bit about stress, burnout, and how to deal with that. And I just want to leave you with some tips or helpful thoughts on this topic so that resilience kicks in and all of you can find your best selves going forward. So if I start with imposter syndrome, and again, I think most of you would have heard about it before. It is not a disease. It's not something to be embarrassed about, but it is this self-doubt that from time to time kicks in for all of us, irrespective of your seniority. But actually, it's a big issue for women and minorities. And it makes sense because what it is that feeling that you're punching above your weight, that you don't deserve what you have achieved, that the accolades are because you got lucky, and you start doubting all these accomplishments and skills. And it's different to humility because it is just a fear of being exposed as a fraud. So it's not rational. And that's what I want to do today, to try to help you understand how you feel so that you can deal with it. I think Rosie, when she posted this seminar, this chat, and LinkedIn said even she suffers. I do it all the time. And look, I'm a super confident woman, but having said that, I sit in boards of big companies. And from time to time, I wonder to myself, oh my gosh, am I contributing enough? Because all these other people are so senior, so experienced, so much older than me. I'm probably the only one with an accent here. Oh my gosh, am I good enough to be here? I should make a point now to make sure that it's good enough. What if my point is not great? What if I embarrass myself? So we all go through it. Rosie mentioned also, I won the New Zealand Dealmaker of the Year. Gosh, I got lucky. My first reaction is, I'm excited. That's fabulous. How lucky I am. And then you start sort of almost justifying, oh, I'm youngish, and I'm a woman, so probably that's why they gave it to me and not to the other very senior men that were running for the same award. And then you need to stop, because life is not about luck all the time. And a lot of what you achieve, if not most of what you achieve, is actually due to your efforts. So when you're feeling this self-doubt, when you're feeling this fear, you actually just need to rationalize it and start thinking that most of the time, there's a big correlation between effort and reward. Now, as I said, why is it important to talk about this now? Because many times our feelings of self-doubt or not being at ease with what we're doing are triggered by a new environment or new job, new circumstances, social interactions. And COVID is bringing all of this back to us, right? We're working here from home. We're feeling like, are we doing enough? Are we communicating what we're doing so that our boss or our peers know what we are actually doing? And the fact that we're not so visible as we used to be makes us feel insecure. Now, the good news is that mostly people that suffer from imposter syndrome are people that are really good at what they do, the perfectionists. And that's why we feel that we're actually not doing enough. It's also the experts, those of us that people think that we're really the experts on a certain topic, so we can never accept that we don't know the answer. And that creates a massive amount of pressure. It's also this sort of natural genius, you know, oh, she's so good at what she does that she will know everything. So you can actually accept that you're not good enough. And that means that you're blocked from achieving more because you stop wanting new challenges. You don't want to take risks or more opportunities because you're worried that you may actually expose yourself as not as good as others think you are. And also there's an element of not asking for help because we feel embarrassed or we feel we should know, we should be capable. Others are going through a lot too, so why am I going to be bothering other people? So how do we deal with it? And I would say the first thing is acknowledge that it's not you, it's actually 90% of the population, apparently the great majority women, and the great majority of people that may not fit in with the traditional mold of those people doing that job. So I see the names here, and I'm actually delighted to see a lot of names that I know, but I see a lot of women, a lot of us in the profession that will be feeling like, oh, we are the odd one out. I see a name of a man that actually I know very well is actually punching above his weight in the role. He got a great role because of effort. And from time to time, I'm sure you who know I'm talking about will be wondering whether you are actually up to that great role. And think about the feelings, separating the feelings from the facts. So rationalize it. Once you know that you're not alone, that you're not sick, that you're not weak, that is just a normal feeling, then put it down to, okay, I'm feeling nervous because I'm going to talk to 50 wonderful people and they may judge me. They may say, oh shit, her accent sounds terrible. They may say, why is she wearing makeup in lockdown? Then I start thinking, well, finally, this is how they may think. This is not how I feel. This is not how I think. I'm entitled to wear what I want. I'm sorry, I was born in another country. I actually speak 3 languages. I should feel proud of that. I shouldn't feel embarrassed about my accent. I should feel very positive about the fact that I can communicate in a different language. So start changing that, rationalizing to put it in a positive framework. But also, and this is a great tip in my view, that someone gave me a long time ago, write a list with all those wonderful things that you achieve and also celebrate your success. I keep in my inbox a list, a folder called good comments. So whenever we get good feedback from a client or a nice email, a nice word from one of our colleagues or friends, I put it in there. And I can assure you that there's about 10,000 good comments and there's one bad comment from time to time. I remember the bad one very vividly and very well, but the good ones quickly fall out of your brain. So keep a list, and then when you're feeling a little bit like, oh, should I really be winning the deal maker of the year? Then I go to my list of good comments and I see that actually I have done amazing deals. So maybe it is fair and maybe I should feel proud and happy about it. The good news, as I said, is that being a perfectionist is what likely triggers this. So be prepared, I think, for develop your response plan. And this is the second tip to how to deal with the imposter syndrome. You have to accept that errors happen in life. You have to accept that inevitably some things will go wrong and some failures would occur. So once you accept that, you can accept also that that is part of developing in life, of taking opportunities, taking risk. That means that from time to time, you're not going to have a smooth ride. And a really easy way to put it is that progression in life, whether it's your career or your personal relationships or personal goals or sports or anything, is not like this, but actually it's more like this. So if you think about that, then you're going to accept beforehand that from time to time, things are not going to go your way. From time to time, it's going to be really hard. You just keep pushing because effort normally results in what you want.
I love that. The piece that you have with regards to having a good comments folder, this improvement, looking at these opportunities of how people have provided that feedback to you, Silvana. But you touch on a really important point with imposter syndrome, that there is pressure. It generally comes from people who have this great drive and ambition. How else does that play out? What can people, how does that manifest necessarily in how people react in their actions?
Yeah, it's exactly the key part of the discussion. Stress and burnout Because actually having self-doubt or doubting that you have the right skills to do something may make you a little bit insecure here and there. But the problem is in situations like what we're dealing with at the moment with lockdown, you actually become emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausted. And that exhaustion actually, if it goes for a long term or if it is too much, can really break you. So people should take it quite seriously. I think there's a few elements that we all need to watch out for, and watch out not only for ourselves, but for each other. If you're part of a team, whether you're a manager or a colleague, if you have a family, if you have friends, so all of us will be in one or the other of these positions, or many of them, look out for each other. Are we becoming a little bit irritable? Are we becoming a little bit demotivated, actually? Are you having sleeping issues? Are you feeling a bit disillusioned about work or life in general? And in particular, are you struggling with your health? If you get to that point in which you drag yourself to do things, you drag yourself out of bed, you may be actually encountering burnout. And there are several things that contribute to burnout. So if you think about what contributes, you can also think about how you handle it. The lack of control, and again, we go back to this, which I love, effort and result. The fact that you don't control the outcome is something that really stresses people. Now, if you put your mind to it, I can assure you that you're able to control quite a bit of the outcome of your own actions. But then, of course, you're part of our whole environment and ecosystem. So if you are in an environment in which there are dysfunctional dynamics or unclear expectations, that can cause a lot of stress. And this is why I think that it's really important to talk to your colleagues about it. If you're feeling that something is not working, the best way to do it is verbalize it and communicate. You may need someone in between. You may need to do it through someone because you don't feel confident enough to have a conversation with your manager or your boss or some of your colleagues. But have a conversation, even if it's through a third party, helping you, not a gossip, but helping you. And extremes of activity contribute to stress and burnout. But I just want to be very clear. I do not think that a highly stressful job equates always to burnout. I think you can actually be under a lot of pressure, but still do very well if you're actually managing that stress. And managing that stress means there's still a balance between your work life and your personal life. There's still time to look after yourself as a human being. So exercise, proper food, taking a break for fresh air during the day, seeing the sun and getting sun on your skin. But also having realistic timeframes around what you're trying to do or what you're supposed to be achieving. Clarity of expectations. If you're a year 3 lawyer, we shouldn't be expecting you to run things on your own. We should be supporting you. Communication, so having the ability to ask questions, to explain when you're feeling under the pump, when you're feeling that you're not coping well. And finally, I think fairness, because I think even if you are under a lot of pressure, if you know that the whole team is under a lot of pressure and we're going through a period in which we actually do need to work really, really hard, you see the end in sight, and you know that you're just part of this cohesive group, that actually makes you feel better and cope really well. So as I said, the burnout risk is not just because of excess stress, it's actually how we manage it. So what do you do to avoid burnout? And it's pretty simple, and I think we talked about it, and it sounds simple to say, but set boundaries. Work and personal life are different, and we do need to separate them. In lockdown, it's really easy to actually keep the computer on, and I'm the first one to blame for this. So what do? Turn it off. Unplug it, make it hard for you to go back and look at the email after dinner again. Find what gives you energy. If what gives you energy is cooking, cook. Sit outside time and cook something healthy, hopefully. If what gives you energy is people, set some catch-ups, Zoom, wine and cheese, social girls' night, whatever you want to do. Find a way and sometimes force yourself to do these things and keep perspective. And I think that is the final really good tip. Keep perspective of what's important in life, what really matters to you, what are you good at, so that you keep doing those things. Don't forget to sleep. I can't emphasize how important sleep is. It actually is the only time when your body can regenerate and recoup and cure itself from something. So actually, exercise, food, and sleep are critical. In my view, sleep is actually the ultimate healer for all of us. And keep lists. I'm a big list fanatic. So for imposter syndrome, I have a list of my good feedback and good attributes and good things I've done. For my stress, I keep a list of the things I need to do and prioritize them so that I feel like I can control my day.
I think a couple of great points there. I love this idea of creating friction to support your boundaries. So as you say, not just turning off your computer, but potentially unplugging it and making it more difficult for those easy hacks that aren't contributing to you getting to your best self with that sleep and exercise and well-being. You also mentioned cooking. I saw that you baked a delicious loaf on Tuesday, was it? So yes, you've got this.
I bake my own bread.
That's amazing.
I blame lockdown.
Fantastic what skills come out, right? Now, you've also spoken about dealing with a massive workload by having resilience. I know you wanted to touch a little on that. Can you share more about your thoughts there?
Yeah, look, funnily enough, I do not consider myself a very resilient person. I think for very good reasons, but I probably grew up in a very pamper and protective environment. So I don't think resilience is one of the skills I have developed very well. But I do think that part of being resilient is actually having a clear goal and having clarity, as I said before, what's important to you and what do you want to achieve. I also think that it's really important to pay attention to your feelings, but don't let them drive you. When I was preparing for this chat last night, I thought, I'm going to write down some thoughts so I don't, otherwise I digress badly. So I'm going to write down some bullet points and try to stick to it. And then I was thinking, actually, today has been a day in which I'm feeling really flat, which is unusual for me. I'm normally quite bubbly. And I was feeling flat. So pay attention to that feeling and then rationalize it. Why am I feeling flat? Well, actually, we have been 3 weeks in lockdown. We have had some family issues. We're tired. There's a lot of work going on. There's a few things that are bothering me. And then I'm thinking, okay, so I just need to think about how I deal with those things. There's no point just feeling it. There's also a way to act on those feelings. And to me, that builds your resilience. And the power of people. I'm a people's person. I think the power of people is enormous. When you feel sad, tell someone, tell your husband, tell your friends, tell your. So I told my husband last night, I'm actually feeling flat. So don't play any silly joke. Don't, just pamper me. Don't tell me off because I left the shoes lying around. It's not the moment when I'm feeling down. So actually, communication is critical. And then have a chat to your friends. I had a chat to one of my girlfriends. We chat about shoes and we show each other shoes on a little Zoom call. Whatever it is that fills your glass with energy, find a way and don't be embarrassed about what it is. It could be wearing a bright necklace. It cheers you up. Just do it.
Yes, I absolutely love that. It could be putting on some gorgeous red lipstick, as you say,
That's
some
right.
makeup in lockdown, which has not always been the case. Now, I know we have a lot of legal professionals or soon to be hoping to be legal professionals on the call. You've practiced law in New York, Chile, and New Zealand. What key similarities and even differences have you found across these different cultures that's helped with your success here in New Zealand?
Look, I think the issue is what do you like to do in life? So I'm an M&A lawyer. I do mergers and acquisitions. I like negotiating deals. And it's not too different to do that in any jurisdiction. Effectively, what you're trying to do is you're trying to reach an agreement and then put it down on paper. It's not different to do that in Chile, in New York, or in New Zealand. So being a lawyer to me is, and they're very different types of lawyers. There are lawyers that go to court. I have been to court 3 times in my life for admissions and one other situation, but very, very rare that I will go to court. That's not my environment. My environment is negotiating with people, in which it is about people. It is about explaining what you want and why you should have that, and giving up a little bit too. So there's something that you need to find that excites you about your job, that makes you feel that you can actually deliver value, and that also gives you that adrenaline, that little bit of actually this keeps me awake. This excites me, interests me. And when you work as an M&A lawyer, sometimes we go through really hard periods in which we work hours and hours. And in New York, it was often the case that I would not sleep, and I would have all-nighters working on a deal because we were under time pressure and big transactions. And that's sort of exciting for a period of time. But I think I have come to terms with the idea that it is not the right balance, and that actually in life, none of us is that Superman or Superwoman that we want to be. And that's when it all sort of fall into place. And I'm in my mid-40s, and I think that's the age when you actually start accepting that you're not going to be perfect at everything, accepting that, the house may be messy, but actually I'd rather not spend time tidying up compulsively, and instead I go for a walk. And I don't have much more time, so I need to compromise. And as an M&A lawyer, you learn that too. You learn that actually it's great doing deals, but we have fantastic teams to help. And I mean, at Minters, I have the most wonderful group of people surrounding me, and both partners and staff and legal and non-legal staff that actually make my job so much more rewarding and fulfilling that it's gratitude to them.
That's so beautiful. I think that there's a lot of different takeaways in terms of understanding those boundaries for people, and that compromise is very important. You will, going back to burnout, leave yourself in a very unhealthy position if that's the road that you continue on. We have a lot of people in our group that are looking to accelerate their entrepreneurial career. So what's one thing you wish you knew at the beginning of your career that you'd encourage others here to implement for their strategy or growth?
So Rosie, this is counterintuitive, but don't accelerate your career. And I'm one of the ones to blame for that, because I was always, and I am very ambitious. When I talk about ambition, I think New Zealand has a bit of a question mark around the word ambition. To me, ambition is a very positive trait, and it's wanting to improve, wanting to succeed. Nothing wrong with it. And it's the same that when I have this discussion with people, New Zealand sometimes have a bit of an issue talking about money, and people feel very shy about it. And there's a bit of a stigma about profit that is almost like a dirty word that you got too rich. I'm American. I mean, born in Latin America. My dad is Italian. I don't have those conceptions of feeling ashamed or embarrassed of doing well. Quite the opposite. I like to celebrate success. So I was very ambitious, and I continue to be, but I think I have now accepted that there are trade-offs. And I think I talk about this in my firm. We talk about DNA, the drive, energy, and ambition that we want to see in all our people. And I always have had a huge level of that. But don't make the mistake of making it one goal. So if your goal is to be a successful lawyer, when I was 20, I wanted to be a partner in a law firm. So I became a partner in a law firm when I was 30. And that's very young. And then when you think about it, gosh, am I going to be doing this for another 30 years? Hope not. But it becomes sort of trying to rush things means that you focus on too little at the time. You don't enjoy this broad spectrum of things that are to be enjoyed in life. And it also means that you can do things for a long time and you can get bored quite early. So give things time. Don't think that accelerating your career is the best outcome. Enjoy your career. Set very solid foundations for what you do. And I'm not saying don't say yes to opportunities, because I think opportunities actually may mean that your career takes longer, but it goes a little bit sideways. you try different things. There may be things that you never thought you would enjoy, and suddenly you have a taste for it, and you become a superstar doing that, and it makes you happy. So don't feel that there's one goal that you need to achieve too young.
So following on from that, what's your next big career goal?
I can't tell you. I'll have to kill you. Look, I don't have one. I actually, as you said at the beginning, I recently, at the beginning of the year, joined the board of Sky City Entertainment Group. And I'm loving it. And I do see a few of the Sky City team here. And I hope they know that I do feel really passionate about helping to build this entertainment group that is ethical and that we all feel proud of. So to me, that is the next piece of the puzzle in my career, which is helping to contribute to that fantastic goal. And we have the right people, we have the right expertise, we have the right thoughts, ideas, so we can do it. But there's work to be done. In the law firm, I actually love my role. I lead our corporate division, which is challenging because it's a very broad church. We have a lot of different personalities and styles, and that makes it very diverse and cool and fun. Very challenging and difficult sometimes too, but I feel proud. I feel proud that our team is ranking band 1 in all the directories, that I see young women fulfilling their lives as much as their careers, and hopefully feeling that they're very, very supported in what they do. So the next goal for me is to keep pushing these things that I'm currently doing. On Being Bold is an initiative to support women in business and women that are growing in their careers. And again, to me, I'm very big on diversity and women, but to me, it's also about men. It's actually helping men feel that this is not a men versus women equation. This is all of us play field, and we all want to get there.
That's so true. And it's about creating that allyship that is mutually beneficial. It's so very important.
Okay, we have a very quiet audience. Rosie,
we do. Are there any additional questions that anyone would like to add into our chat? They will all regret this when they jump off the call. I know we are coming up reasonably close to 1 o'clock as well. Was there anything else in terms of your career that you wanted to cover off with us, Silvana?
Look, not necessarily about my career, but if I were to think about a few extra tips, as I said before, and maybe just sort of to recap, I'm a big fan of lists. So write down your good comments and feedbacks. Keep track of them, because there are moments in life when they become really a lifesaver. Keep track of what you're doing so that nothing falls through the cracks, but also at a macro level, so that you know where you're heading towards, and hopefully align with your principles. So if what you're doing is what you want to get to, is part of your purpose, part of your goals, you're going to find yourself being a lot more resilient and a lot happier, and having fun, which is really a very important part of life. And maybe the final point is say yes to opportunities. When we talk about imposter syndrome, when we talk about burnout and stress, I think one quick reaction could be, oh, then I'm not going to take on more stuff, or I'm not going to do those things that I'm not ready for because they're going to add to my stress. They're going to add to my self-doubt. I actually think it's the opposite. Say yes to opportunities, but think about possible outcomes beforehand. So think about, I'm taking a big challenge on. So there's bound to be some setbacks. There's bound to be some failure along the road. There's going to be more pressure. Am I ready for this? How am I going to cope? So have your plan ready, and don't say no to opportunities. Just plan ahead. I think that is a very helpful way to approach it.
That's wonderful. We do have someone, Minna, who was very brave and put a question to you. How do you actively put yourself out of your comfort zone to help with your growth?
I think that's actually part of what we were talking about, Mira. It's this idea that if you plan ahead, if you think about it, you're going to be able to cope with the outcome. So putting out stuff. I mean, I'll give you another example. I remember part of my job or the job of a partner in a law firm is actually to drum up business, to bring new work. So we do business development and we go to big functions. And I remember once talking to some of the girls in my team about a function coming up. And it was a function in which there's normally like 600 people. And I said, well, the biggest challenge is actually to decide who do you talk to, because there's so many people. And one of the girls said to me, well, you have that issue, but actually for a lot of us, it's terrifying. And I said to her, okay, so that's my personality. I don't find it terrifying, but if I were to find it scary, the way I would deal with it is I'll write down who are the 3 people I actually want to see or need to see, focus on that and prepare. So rather than sort of going and not having what to say and sort of seeing this person and, you know, freezing, be ready for it. You know, go and think, okay, I really need to see Rosie Nathan. I know that she has this project called Her Career. So I'm going to go look online, spend 5 minutes so that when you see Rosie, you can say to her, hey, I saw that you had a chat with Silvana. How did it go? So prepare yourself. I think that is the best way to put yourself outside your comfort zone.
Obviously builds that connection. We do have a couple more questions. I know it is past 1, but we did clear this first. There is a little bit of time. So if you're happy to continue with a couple more questions, Silvana, that would be wonderful. How do you balance between work and family?
Oh, and look, I confess I don't have children, and I don't think that means I don't have a family. So my family, my parents and my brother are in Chile. Now, I think the best way is actually trying to set boundaries, and the same applies to your children. You should find time that is time for your children. Rosie and I were talking about this morning. I find COVID has provided this fantastic equalizer for women in the workplace, because for a long time, women were struggling trying to find the flexibility to do their work. Not that they didn't want to do it, not that we're more lazy or less keen. It's just that we needed to juggle different things than men. And the fact that now we can all access more flexibility, I think is really useful. I think also there are periods in life in which you will need to commit with different focus to different things. I can't imagine that when you have young children, you will be able to commit 100% to your career. It's just not possible. But stay focused on your career with a different focus, but stay focused so that you can continue to progress, maybe at a slower pace, and then keeping those boundaries and that balance so that at some point you will pick it up, and will pick it up without having been totally out of touch.
Great
sorry,
advice.
Maybe the other thing I should say, and as I said, my family in Chile, time zone makes it really hard, but I have in my calendar an hour every Saturday morning in which I talk to my parents. And lovely. Then every Wednesday morning, I have half an hour in which I do chats with some of my friends in Chile. And actually time zone means that I need to do it at 9 in the morning, but maybe work time. But if I don't do it, then I won't do it. And half an hour is not going to impact my career. So I just find the time, and then you can do work later, or you can ask for help. That's why we have teams, and that's why we have people around us.
Yes, it comes back to that prioritization, right? Yeah. And I think for me, it's always been around what's going to assist you to become your best whole human, which then allows you to be a better professional as well. I'm going to jump into this question about saying no without feeling guilty, because we've talked a little bit about boundaries, and this is something that a number of our women in our group struggle with. So if you could comment about that, the phrase to ask a busy person and saying no.
Oh, saying no is the hardest thing. I agree. And I'm bad at it. So I'm giving you advice that is theoretical. It doesn't mean that I follow it. But saying no is as important as saying yes. So when you say yes, you need to be able to not only agree to do something, but do it properly. Everything we do reflects on our character, on our ability to commit, ability to deliver, etc. So when you're saying yes, think, are you able to do that? And are you able to deliver on time and deliver a good job? If there's a question mark around that, you may need to say no. And the words no are really confronting, but I think the way I try to handle this to say, I will struggle meeting that time frame, or I think it will be challenging for me to do this and that, and then offer a suggestion. So when you say no, you never say no back to you with the problem, but instead you say no, but what about? So if someone in my team asks me to do something and I'm too busy, I would say to them, look, I will struggle to get to this in the time frame that you need feedback. So why don't we ask this other partner to help? Or why don't you first do this, and then when you get to that point, I may be free, or whatever. So maybe it's not just no, it's actually, I have another solution for you.
And I think that's so right. There are so many occasions where people think in black and white, and there's a lot of gray that can work in that collaboration space. Yeah. It's definitely other ways to achieve a fantastic outcome. We have 3 more questions. Would you mind if I pose those to you offline and collate some answers to put with the article, Silvana, so that we have that time later? We'll wind up. Are there any last words from you you'd like to share? No, just look, don't beat yourself up too much when something goes wrong. It goes wrong all the time. We're all struggling. COVID is hard. Life is hard. As I say to my team, life is not fair. Just deal with it. Focus on what's important for you. Try to be positive. It all comes from the inside. If you're struggling, ask for help. There's a lot of people that would be happy to help. Actually, that is a very rewarding activity, supporting others. Talk. Don't go into this sort of spiral of trouble and negativity on your own. And maybe just actually the last point is be open to opportunities, but without killing yourself. So think strategically about your career, about where the opportunities are going to be great for what you want to achieve in the long term, and what is going to make you happy. It's a long-term game. Exactly. Life is absolutely a long-term game. I would love to thank you for your time, Silvana. We're already getting some fantastic comments thanking you as well for those insights. We will have those last 3 questions answered in the article that will be out in the next couple of weeks. So if you need to reach out to myself or Silvana, we are both on LinkedIn. Check out On Being Bold and Her Career, and we would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and thank you all again. Thank you, team. Lovely to see you all. Bye-bye. Bye.